Hello, Palmer Husky here, and I'm actually doing a college part 2, partly in response to somebody that just commented on my original college videos. Now, I'll admit that the first one was very foreboding. I was kind of in a bad mood that night. And the second one was a little bit more logical, but it didn't really... I didn't really have every bit of information I needed. I still don't, but I thought I'd update you on a little bit of research progress that I have been doing. My original plan, and until I found out completely differently, it's still part of the plan, is to go to a lower community college, not so much a tech college, but a university college, not a university college, a community college, excuse me. To take my general education courses for cheap. One of the problems, again, is I'm not a resident here in Colorado yet. That means that if I go to college now, I'm going to be paying those out-of-state fees. Those are very expensive, and when you compare it to the in-state student fees. And I kind of want to start out with the in-state student fees. Plus the fact that I'm probably too late to register for anything that is more close to the time I'm at now, like the winter classes, the winter semester. I probably can't get in there at this point, which is fine. We'll work through that. In the meantime, maybe I can, put some money away toward college expenses, so it's not so hard when I actually enter, because I know I'm going to have the textbook expenses as well, so maybe I can lessen the burden of that, even though I am going to be going for financial aid, which I have not started yet, but I also haven't registered anywhere for it yet, for colleges. So again, the reason I'm waiting is so that I can get those in-state fees. Now, interesting thing is that there was a response on one of my videos. It was a much longer response. Now, I've already responded in text to this, but I thought I'd make a video about it because I'm sure other people are seeing this, saying, well, you sound like a whiny teenager. Not really. I don't sound like a whiny teenager. I'm explaining things, a course of events that led me to where I am now. They also mentioned the thing, well, what were you doing you're 30 years old. What have you been doing for the last 5 years? Well, I had bought into the religion, the witness religion, that I was in, and didn't take the first 3 years of that 5 that they're referring to. And part of that 5 was progressing toward getting married, which never happened, obviously. And a lot of that was just trying to make it through life, trying to make ends meet. So to attack on that point is kind of foolish. The last 2 years, I've really been trying to deprogram myself from a lot of the things that were holding me back, a lot of the teachings and influences that held me back from taking action later in the latter half of my 20s, and I finally deprogrammed it enough where I'm ready to take that next step forward toward that full deprogramming. And I may never have that fully deprogrammed. Just checking to see if I'm actually recording. Okay, I am. So that's where I've been for the last 5 years. In the last 2 years, specifically since I left home, I tinkered with the idea a couple times of going to a tech college. Ivy Tech from Indiana, and then there was some college that was located in Idaho Falls, where I was living before, where I am now, that I had at least looked into, but things happened to where I ended up moving twice, just as I was starting to look at these things. And, well, unfortunately, when you move around a lot, it's kind of silly to actually try and go to college, because a lot of these colleges, they don't transfer the credits to other colleges, or sometimes that's the case. Now, there's another thing that has come up. Before I move on to that point, a great example of this moving around, not being able to go to college. My last roommate before where I am now, the wife was or is a geologist. I think it's a geologist, but she hasn't finished her second degree, or hasn't gone for her second part of her degree, the next step up. And the reason why is she's an Army wife, and she moves around every 3 years. And moving around every 3 years is not exactly conducive to a 4-year college. I mean, there is the possibility that you stay longer, but you never really know with the military. She'd have to wait until she's out of the military, or her husband is out of the military, before she could actually pursue that next degree. That's another factor. Now, starting in a college, if I'm gonna move again, is kind of foolish, because then you're paying for an incomplete education and probably have to start all over again at the next college that you try to go to. That's just doesn't make any sense. I'll put it bluntly. Does not make any sense whatsoever. Okay, so we've got those few things that have been going on. Well, I'm fairly settled now. I'm pursuing it at this point. Now, the next thing, I was actually talking to my friend back in Indiana about this, and I might have to. I'm not saying I'm not going to college. Obviously, I am. But I might have to rework how I'm doing this. And the reason why I might have to rework this is because, according to him, a lot of colleges, if you go to a lesser college, like we'll say compared state college to university, or community college to university, sometimes if you take the gen ed classes at, say, the lowest university, not a tech university, but and I just mentioned it and the words slipped my mind, at a community college, excuse me, sometimes those credits will not transfer to the next level college. And that, in my mind, is a problem, because if I went to, say, Arapahoe Community College, which is a local college to where I am, now that's a community college, and then I decide I want to go to CU, that's Colorado University. It's quite likely that the classes I took for general education that I did for Chiefs and got my, I think it's bachelor's, no, associates. It would be associate's degree. Out of that, those classes may not actually transfer credits to CU. And then I'd have to take the general education courses through CU all over again. I want the credits to transfer. So I've got to find out, my next step, I guess, is finding out what colleges I can go to where my credits will actually transfer from one to the other, so I don't have to end up taking the same damn thing over again and wasting time and money. I mean, associate, if I'm right, and from my last video, and the associate's degree takes 2 years to get, there's 2 years and X amount of money wasted and have to redo all over again. And I'm not one about wasting my money, and I'm not one about wasting my time. So that's basically where I stand. I've got to figure out what I'm doing here. Well, thankfully I'm working. What I'll probably do in the meantime too is maybe set some money, or at least try to set a little bit of money aside so that I can defray the cost. I know I'm going for financial aid, but I also work kind of full-time-ish right at the moment. So I don't know how financial aid is going to go. If anyone out there has any recommendations, there's a friend of mine that's kind of cut me off that I was going to ask for some advice, but since he's decided to cut me off, the advice route is no longer available, which is very sad, and so forth. But I don't know. I never got this. I never got as far as actually going for financial aid. I know federal financial aid, but that's something you have to pay back. I would like to cut my costs further if possible by going for grants and whatnot, but I have no idea what kind of grant could possibly be out there for me that I can go for to help seriously defray the cost of this. Because let's face it, 30 years old, I do have some bills left from my 20s that need to be paid off. I'm not drowning, but at the same time, I don't need to add to what I already have before I pay off what I already have, which I've been working on right along. I think a lot of people don't realize that. But so if you know of any grants that you might that might go well with the coursework that I'm taking. By the way, if I didn't mention it before in my last video, I'm going to be taking literature classes with the view of becoming a literature teacher. So if you have any advice on getting a grant toward that venue, please just let me know, and I will thank you forever. I won't necessarily love you forever, but I'll thank you forever. And please, for crying out loud, I'm trying to actually do something here. I may not be, it may seem like the gears are turning slowly, but don't post derogatory-ish things about it. I'm not necessarily exactly blaming my parents completely, but they did have a strong hand in the way that I handled my last 10 years. And I'm trying to break free of that and do things on my own finally, like I should have been doing in the first place. So I will talk at everyone later. I will see those of you that I know online. I will see you online. Those of you that I know in real life, locally, I will see you locally. And you all have a great day.